The Smurl haunting, spanning from 1974 to 1989, is one of the most terrifying and well-documented hauntings in American history. The haunting is particularly chilling not just because of its terrifying encounters, but because of the enduring mystery surrounding the paranormal events and the psychological torment that the Smurl family endured for over a decade. This haunting has been the subject of books, movies, and documentaries. But despite all the attention, the true nature of the forces involved remains unclear. The haunting was so violent and terrifying that it still echoes in the minds of true crime and paranormal enthusiasts. In 1974, Jack and Janet Smurl, a young couple with 2 daughters, moved into a home in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. At first, it seemed like a typical suburban house. The family, eager to start a new chapter in their lives, thought they had found a peaceful home in a quiet neighborhood. But from the moment they stepped foot inside the house, strange things began happening. It wasn't long before the Smurl family realized that their new home was not like any other, and they were about to experience something that would change their lives forever. Initially, the Smurl family began to experience minor inconveniences that they brushed off as the usual quirks of a new home. Strange noises would echo through the house, scratching sounds in the walls, creaks on the floors, and doors slamming on their own. But these occurrences escalated quickly, becoming more disturbing and violent. It wasn't long before the family started hearing disembodied voices calling their names, whispering in the dark, or laughing in the middle of the night. One of the most frightening experiences was hearing a loud, deep voice calling out to them, sometimes laughing or threatening them. These sounds would often appear at night, when the family was supposed to be at rest. Janet Smurl recalled hearing footsteps pacing down the hallway, but when she looked, no one was there. As the days passed, these sounds became more frequent, and a sense of dread began to settle over the home. The family was terrified, but they had no idea what they were dealing with. The house that was supposed to be their safe haven had become a prison. As weeks turned into months, the activity intensified. Janet reported being physically attacked by an unseen force. She felt sudden, violent pushes, as if someone or something was shoving her. In some instances, she would wake up with scratches and bruises on her arms, and sometimes even on her face. One night, Janet claimed to have been thrown from her bed onto the floor with great force. Jack also experienced inexplicable events, including a heavy feeling of being watched. He would find strange stains on the floor, inexplicable puddles of water, and furniture moved to different locations. The family's mental and emotional states were also deteriorating. Jack and Janet both began to experience insomnia and extreme exhaustion. Their health began to suffer. The constant fear and anxiety made it difficult to function normally. The family would often argue, and their relationships became strained. Janet especially suffered, with emotional outbursts and nervous breakdowns. One of the most traumatic events was when Janet claimed that an unseen entity had sexually assaulted her. She recalled feeling a pressure on her body and being physically violated while lying in bed. Meanwhile, the Smurls began to notice disturbing physical manifestations of the haunting. Furniture was overturned, lights would flicker without explanation, and one of their children, a young girl, would often wake up in the middle of the night screaming in terror, unable to explain what she had seen. The haunting was no longer confined to mere sounds and smells. It had become an all-encompassing nightmare, where physical objects were being manipulated and the family's very safety was being threatened. In the midst of the terrifying events, The Smurls reached out to paranormal investigators, seeking an explanation or, at the very least, some help. The couple eventually turned to the famous demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, who had investigated some of the most well-known hauntings in history, including the Amityville horror case. The Warrens, known for their work with the Catholic Church and their knowledge of the supernatural, agreed to investigate the Smurl case. Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived at the Smurl home in 1977, and what they found was truly horrifying. After conducting their own investigation, they were convinced that the Smurls' home was being haunted by a powerful demonic entity. According to the Warrens, the spirit was incredibly strong and malevolent, feeding off the family's fear and psychological distress. They claimed that the demon was responsible for the physical attacks, as well as the violent manifestations in the house. In their investigation, the Warrens noted the dark, oppressive atmosphere of the house. They reported feeling a constant sense of evil, something heavy and tangible in the air. Lorraine Warren, in particular, was sensitive to the spiritual forces at play. During one of their visits, she had a frightening vision of the entity that was tormenting the family. She described it as a shadowy, monstrous figure with eyes full of malice. The Warrens performed several exorcism rites and blessings in an attempt to rid the house of the malevolent spirit. Although the Warrens' involvement seemed to have calmed some of the activity for a short period, the haunting did not fully cease. The Smurls continued to experience strange occurrences, although the physical violence lessened. The psychological toll on the family remained, and the haunting cast a long shadow over their lives for many years. The Smurl family eventually moved out of the house in the late 1980s. They later recounted their experiences in a book called The Haunted, which was co-written with author Robert Curran. The book chronicled their terrifying experiences and their battle with the demonic forces that tormented them for so long. The Smurls' story continues to be one of the most chilling examples of a family enduring a paranormal possession, and it has been the subject of various media portrayals, including a 1991 TV movie. Despite the Smurls' eventual departure from the home, the lingering questions surrounding the haunting remain. Was it a case of demonic possession, a manifestation of repressed fears or psychological issues, or perhaps a combination of both? Many aspects of the Smurl haunting remain unexplained, and the eerie terror of their experience continues to haunt the imaginations of those who hear their story. The Smurl haunting remains one of the most well-documented cases of paranormal activity in modern history. It serves as a chilling reminder of the unknown forces that may be lurking just beyond our understanding. The Smurl family's encounter with a powerful and malevolent entity, coupled with the involvement of the Warrens, has solidified this haunting in the annals of true crime and paranormal history. Whether one believes in ghosts or demons, the terror and suffering the Smurls experienced is undeniable, and their story continues to captivate and horrify all who come across it. In the end, the Smurl haunting remains a testament to the mysterious and frightening forces that could be lurking in the most ordinary of places, waiting to make their presence known in the most terrifying ways.